The National Bureau of Economic Research once released a set of truly sobering statistics regarding those who suddenly win a massive lottery jackpot, whether it's $1 million or $100 million. Approximately 70% will squander the money within a few years. In fact, many end up in a worse financial situation than before they won. It sounds almost like a curse. Why is it that a sudden windfall cannot change a person's destiny? The answer is cruel, yet fair. Money is merely the result. The vessel that holds that money is your existing life system. If that system has holes in it, no matter how much water you pour in, it will eventually drain dry. Hello everyone and welcome back to Beyond the Books. I'm Julie. The book we are deconstructing today has a title that sounds incredibly straightforward, perhaps even carrying a whiff of success lore. It's called Rich Habits by Thomas Corley. But why, in the year 2025, am I dusting off a book that was published quite some time ago? Because I believe that in this era where algorithms and AI run rampant, our misunderstanding of the words wealth and habit hasn't diminished. It has deepened. Years ago, Thomas Corley did something very tedious, but incredibly solid. He spent 5 full years tracking 177 self-made millionaires and 128 individuals living below the poverty line. He didn't ask them about their investment strategies. Instead, he took a magnifying glass to the minute details of their daily lives: what time they woke up, what they ate for lunch, how they made phone calls, and even what TV shows they watched after work. His conclusion was this: becoming wealthy isn't an act, it is a state of being. And this state is woven together by countless micro habits that you aren't even aware of. Many people read this book looking for how to make $10 million. But today, I want to shift our perspective. Let's stop staring at the money for a moment and talk about this. How does this set of rich habits actually rewire a person's brain operating system from the level of neuroscience and psychology? If we place this book in the context of today's information-overloaded world, it's actually discussing one thing: the allocation of cognitive bandwidth. The book mentions a core concept called the compound effect of habits. Corley found that the wealthy have at least 40% of their daily behaviors running on automated good habits, whereas for the poor, that 40% is occupied by bad habits. What does this 40% actually mean? We all know the human brain has a significant flaw. Our prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making, willpower, and logical thinking, has very limited energy. Think of it like your phone battery. The harder you use it, the faster it drains. If every morning we have to agonize over what time should I get up, should I work out, what's for breakfast, or which task should I do first, these trivial choices rapidly deplete our decision-making energy. In psychology, this is called decision fatigue. Those so-called rich habits in the book, like a fixed morning routine, strictly scheduled reading time, or listing the day's tasks, look like self-discipline on the surface. But in reality, they are an extremely shrewd, energy-saving strategy. They outsource these basic life maintenance tasks entirely to the basal ganglia in the brain, the area responsible for habit formation, which consumes almost no energy to operate. This way, their precious prefrontal cortex can save its full battery charge for the high-value decisions that actually determine their wealth bracket, like judging a complex business trend or navigating a tricky interpersonal relationship. So, this is the first deep insight I want to share. True wealth is, first and foremost, a wealth of cognitive bandwidth. If you feel exhausted and busy every day, yet by nighttime you can't recall doing anything significant, it's likely not because you aren't working hard enough. It's because your operating system has too many energy-draining apps running in the background. Next, I want to talk about another fascinating point in the book that is severely underestimated today. Corley calls it the Gardner theory of relationships. In his research, he found that self-made millionaires have a habit that borders on paranoia. They regularly make hello calls to key people in their network. Note that these calls have no specific agenda. They aren't asking for favors, nor are they selling anything. They are simply checking in. In 2025, we might not make many phone calls anymore. We send WeChat messages or like posts on social media. But has the essence changed? Corley touched upon the core logic of social capital here. However, I believe his observation needs an important update and upgrade for today. We used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This usually referred to friends and physical space. But in the digital age, this concept of 5 people has expanded infinitely. The influencers you follow, the newsletters you subscribe to, the AI models you interact with daily, the online communities you belong to, these are your digital neighbors. The book mentions that the wealthy deliberately distance themselves from toxic people. In psychology, this is called emotional contagion. If the people around you are constantly complaining, anxious, or shirking responsibility, your mirror neurons will involuntarily mimic these patterns. Today, these toxins come mostly from our information feeds. If your algorithmic recommendations are full of manufactured anxiety, short-sighted entertainment, or extreme polarization, you have essentially set up a home in a poverty district. Even if you live in a mansion, your spiritual world is living in the slums. So, extending from rich habits, I believe the most crucial habit modern people need to establish is information diet hygiene. Just as the wealthy strictly control their sugar intake, we need to strictly control our intake of low-quality information. This isn't just about saving time, it's about protecting our reality distortion field. Speaking of which, some might feel, I understand all of this, but why is it that when I set goals like read every day or exercise every day, I can never stick to them? This brings us to the third key point in the book, and one that is often misread: the difference between dream setting and goal setting. Corley found that many people suffer because they are chasing other people's goals. This sounds like a cliché, but let's break down the neural mechanism behind it. When we set a goal like, I want to earn $1 million, if this goal is driven merely by fear of poverty, or vanity, wanting others to be envious, our brain's amygdala is activated. This is the area responsible for stress and the fight or flight response. In this mode, persistence is a painful drain. However, if the goal stems from a genuine inner vision, what the book calls a dream, the dopamine reward circuitry in your brain gets activated. Here is a very useful tool I call the 2025 Vision Board. The book suggests writing down your dreams, but I suggest going a step deeper. Don't just write, I want to be rich. Instead, describe every detail of that scenario. When you are wealthy, how exactly do you spend your day? What does the coffee smell like in the morning? What is the atmosphere of the conversation with your family? What kind of interesting problems are you solving? This isn't metaphysics. This is leveraging the Reticular Activating System, RAS, in our brains. This system acts like a filter. When you vividly depict your vision, the RAS gets programmed. It starts to automatically filter through the chaotic world to capture the opportunities, information, and connections that can help you realize that vision. Many people think the wealthy are just lucky. In reality, it's because their RAS is constantly in search mode, while the average person's system is in standby mode. All right, we've deconstructed the theory. How do we land this plane? If I could ask you to do just one thing to start changing, I would suggest trying an exercise I call the micro-habit audit. This might be the most practical part of today's episode, so listen closely. This weekend, take a piece of paper. Record everything you do from the moment you open your eyes in the morning until you close them at night. Even small things like brushing your teeth or scrolling through your phone. Write them down in chronological order. Then, like a ruthless auditor, score every behavior. If the behavior is depositing money into your long-term account, like reading, exercising, deep work, maintaining high-quality relationships, mark it with a plus. If the behavior is overdrawing your future, like mindlessly scrolling short videos, meaningless arguments, procrastination, mark it with a You don't have to force yourself to eliminate all the taught habits immediately. You only need to do one thing. Pick the most glaring rusty habit and design an incredibly tiny plus habit to replace it. Note, replace, not eliminate. Habits cannot be eliminated. They can only be overwritten. For example, if you find that you lie on the couch scrolling through your phone for an hour after dinner every day, don't swear, I will never scroll again. That's useless. Instead, set this rule. After dinner, I will listen to a podcast for 5 minutes or read 2 pages of a book first. Just do those 5 minutes. Use the path of least resistance to lay down the new neural tracks first. And one more thing regarding relationships. The book mentioned the 5-minute call. In 2025, I suggest you try non-transactional connection. Every week, pick 3 friends or mentors you admire but haven't contacted in a while, and send them a message. The content is simple. I recently read a great article about topic, saw this new product, and it made me think of you. I thought you might find it interesting. Hope everything is well. Don't expect a reply. Don't ask for value. You are simply signaling to the universe, I am a valuable node, and I enjoy sharing. Trust me, the long-term return on investment of this altruistic micro-habit will outperform any financial product. Rich Habits was never really a book about how to make money. It is a book about how to take back control of your life. Through those 5 years of research, the author told us only one truth. Mediocrity is inertia, while excellence is an active choice. In this year of 2025, with technology iterating rapidly and the future full of uncertainty, the only assets we can be certain of are our own behavioral patterns and cognitive systems. As Corley implies at the end of the book, true wealth is not the number in your bank account, but the freedom to choose your lifestyle and the ability to command that freedom. Thank you so much for your company today. If you felt even a slight spark from today's episode, why not start with that micro-habit audit? Or write down the names of those 3 people you want to contact this week in your notes right now. I'm Julie. Let's continue exploring together beyond the books. See you next time.